Hello champions and happy Monday. I am so excited to see you today. Today we're going to start to talk about ratio tables and how to find equivalent ratios using tables. I know you're going to do a great job with this lesson, and so does Mr. Smiles. He's giving you the thumbs up. Let's get started. Remember, you are great, and every day you have a chance to show it. I'm really proud of all the hard work you've put in already this year. Before we get started with our lesson, write our creed on the top line. I'm going to show you how great I am. Today you'll have the chance to show how great you are by how you perform on this video, and also how you perform on your exit ticket. Let's start with our do now. What is the ratio of red circles to green circles? Fill in the blanks to show that ratio. There are 7 red circles and 4 green circles, so the ratio is 7 to 4. What is the ratio of all circles to stars? Go ahead and fill in that ratio now. There are 11 circles and 4 stars, so the ratio is 11 to 4. What is the ratio of stars to total shapes? Go ahead and fill in that ratio now. There are 4 stars and 15 total shapes, so the ratio is 4 to 15. Now let's look at number 4. Michael bought 4 cans of Coke for $7.12. How much did each can of Coke cost? So I need to split that price, $7.12, into 4 equal groups to find the cost for one. Remember, when I do a division problem like this, the first thing I need to do is bring my decimal point straight up. Let's start in the ones place. How many times does 4 go into 7? 4 goes into 7 one time. What's 1 times 4? It's 4. When I subtract, how many ones do I have left over? I have 3. Now I can break them apart into tenths by bringing down my 1. How many times does 4 go into 31? It goes into 31 7 times. What's 7 times 4? It's 28. When I subtract, how many tenths do I have left over? I have 3 tenths left over. Now I can bring down my 2 to break those tenths apart into hundredths. How many times does 4 go into 32? It goes in 8 times. What's 8 times 4? It's 32. So there's nothing left over. The cost of each can of Coke is $1.78. At this rate, how much would 5 cans of Coke cost? I can multiply $1.78 times 5 to solve this problem. What's $1.78 times 5? Well, 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 7 is 35 plus 4 is 39. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 more is 8. And 2 numbers go behind the decimal. So if you put $8.90, you are correct. Now let's try one of those problems entirely on our own. Elijah bought 3 cans of Sprite for $4.53. At this rate, how much would 5 cans of Sprite cost? Go ahead and find the cost of 1 can of Sprite by dividing $4.53 by 3. Each can of Sprite costs $1.51. Now you can find the cost of 5 cans of Sprite by multiplying $1.51 times 5. Go ahead and solve that problem now. 5 cans of Sprite would cost $7.55. Now let's do an equivalent ratio problem. Dior earns 5 extra credit points every time she does 10 math problems. First, what's the ratio of extra credit points to math problems? The ratio is 5 to 10. Before I make my double number line, can I simplify the ratio 5 to 10? Yes. What goes into both 5 and 10? 5 does. What's the new simplified ratio? It's 1 to 2. 1 point for 2 math problems. Now you can draw a double number line to show that relationship. 1 point for 2 problems. Go ahead and draw a double number line now to help you solve that problem. Now that you've drawn your double number line, we can answer the questions. How many points would Dior earn for 6 problems? Dior would earn 3 points for 6 problems. How many problems would Dior need to complete for 7 points? Dior would need to complete 14 problems for 7 points. How many points would Dior earn for 4 problems? Dior would earn 2 points for 4 problems. Today we're going to do some division and multiplication by unit fractions. Remember, we can represent a division problem as a fraction. How would you write 3 divided by 5 as a fraction? Remember, I would write dividend over divisor, or 3/5. How would you write 1 divided by 4 as a fraction? I would write 1/4. How would you write 2 divided by 3 as a fraction? I would write 2/3. Now let's look at our first activity. Today we're going to use ratio tables to create equivalent ratios. Zedric is preparing for the first 5K with the running club. He runs at a constant speed. Some distances and times are shown in the table below. What is the ratio of time in minutes to distance run in miles? Well, I can see that for 8 minutes, there's 1 mile. So the ratio is 8 minutes to 1 mile. How long would it take Zedric to run 3 miles? Remember, I can multiply by the same thing to create an equivalent ratio. 1 times what is 3? It's 3. I would have to multiply 8 times the same thing to create my equivalent ratio. What's 8 times 3? It's 24. So, to run 3 miles, Zedric would need 24 minutes. I had to multiply by the same thing for both quantities. Now let's look at another one. How many miles can Zedric run in 56 minutes? Again, I need to multiply by the same thing to find these two quantities. 8 times what is 56? 8 times 7 is 56. To find the number of miles, I can multiply the 1 times 7. What's 1 times 7? It's 7. Zedric can run 7 miles in 56 minutes. How long would it take Zedric to run 11 miles? Again, I need to multiply both quantities by the same thing. 1 times what is 11? 1 times 11 is 11. Now I need to multiply the 8 by 11 as well. What's 8 times 11? It's 88. It would take Zedric 88 minutes to run 11 miles. How many miles could Zedric run in 120 minutes? Well, first I need to figure out what did I multiply 8 by to get to 120. I multiplied 8 times 15 to get to 120. So what would I have to do to the 1? I would need to multiply it by 15 as well. What's 1 times 15? It's 15. So Zedric could run 15 miles in 120 minutes. We can also use division or multiplication by unit fractions to find equivalent ratios in a table. Bernage is also training for a 5K with the running club. His distances and times are shown below. Bernage can run 12 miles in 120 minutes. What's the ratio of time in minutes to distance run in miles? Well, it's 120 minutes to 12 miles. Now let's fill in the chart to find the missing values. To go from 12 miles to 6 miles, I multiplied times 1/2, or divided by 2. So I need to do the same to 120. What's 120 times 1/2? It's 60. To go from 120 to 40, I needed to divide by 3, or multiply times 1/3. What's 12 times 1/3, or 12 divided by 3? It's 4. To go from 12 to 3, I had to multiply by 1/4. What's 120 times 1/4? It's 30. Now, I don't always have to start from the top of the table. Here, to get from 30 to 10, I can multiply times 1/3, or divide by 3. So, I can do the same to 3. What's 3 times 1/3, or 3 divided by 3? It's 1. To go from 10 to 5, what did I multiply by? I multiplied by 1/2, or divided by 2. So I can do the same thing to my 1 mile. 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. So Bernage can run 1/2 a mile in 5 minutes. What we've seen today is that ratio tables can be used to quickly represent equivalent ratios. To create an equivalent ratio, multiply both quantities by the same number. And like we learned in our number talk, multiplying by a unit fraction is the same as dividing by the denominator. You can use this knowledge to fill out the ratio tables below. Let's fill in the missing values in our table. How many cups of sugar would 10 cups of flour require? Well, 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4. How many cups of flour would 6 cups of sugar require? Well, 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. How many cups of sugar would 20 cups of flour require? Well, 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 4 is 8. How many cups of flour would 24 cups of sugar require? Well, 2 times 12 is 24. 5 times 12 is 60. Now let's look at the next table. A recipe for brownies is represented below. How many cups of sugar would 16 cups of flour require? Well, 32 times 1/2 is 16. 8 times 1/2 is 4. How many cups of flour would 2 cups of sugar require? Well, 4 times 1/2 is 2. 16 times 1/2 is 8. How many cups of flour would 1 cup of sugar require? Well, 2 times 1/2 is 1. 8 times 1/2 is 4. How many cups of sugar would 1 cup of flour require? Well, 4 times 1/4 is 1. 1 times 1/4 is 1/4. Now you try one. Fill in the blanks in the recipe for lemonade. 14 lemons would be required for 4 gallons of water. 6 gallons of water would be required for 28 lemons. 35 lemons would be required for 10 gallons of water. And 18 gallons of water would be required for 63 lemons. Now let's try one more problem. A recipe for Gatorade is shown below. Go ahead and fill in the blanks in that table. 6 scoops of drink mix would be used for 12 gallons of water. 6 gallons of water would be used for 3 scoops of drink mix. 1 scoop of drink mix would be used for 2 gallons of water, and 1/2 scoop would be used for 1 gallon of water. You've done a great job on this video. Now go to IXL Practice R.5.